we finished up the Divine Feminine last month, and so now we're moving into our new month, which is our Journey to Awakening program. And we are using, our theme is Manifesting is Not Miraculous. So we have many people who have signed up for home study groups. Thank you for the hosts who put themselves forward. Lots of new hosts this year, which is super exciting. And lots of people have signed up. You should have gotten your materials. Thank you to Erin Lorraine for doing an amazing job with the materials. Thank you so much, really. And thank you to Julia Scherer for putting the whole home study group program together. Julia, thank you so much. Really, really lovely to work with people who just are so dedicated, so committed, so talented. And as always, a thank you to Reverend Patty, who helped put it together in the first place. Super grateful. So you will be, as you go through the process, those of you who are in your home study groups, you'll be working through it, and then we'll be talking about it on Sundays. So the beginning of our conversation is to believe it. We begin the process of manifesting by, and it's not miraculous because we understand what we're doing. And so the first thing we do is we believe it. So on the one hand, we believe in the end result. There's no question about it. And so that's why we've wrapped around into this, we've wrapped this Sunday around believing that we are unleashing CSLDallas 3.0 by the end of the year. Yes. And just like any time we want to manifest something, you start claiming it, right? What's the first thing that happens? All the ways that it's not working show up, doesn't it? All the things that are different than what we're claiming show up. And then we actually have to change. We have to change how we're thinking, change what we're doing, change. We might have to leave something, change a job, a relationship, just the way we are doing life, so that something new can be born. And the actual manifestation, you know, a lot of times we just want everything to change, but we don't want anything to change, especially not us. Right, right. And it just does not work that way. And that's, of course, what builds our resistance, because we like the way it's been and we know how it works, and then we can be on. And the big thing is, for me, is what I really have to admit, the reason I like the way it's been is because then I get to be on autopilot. Right? And I don't have to think about what I'm thinking about. And I don't have to make any new decisions. And I, for God's sakes, don't have to change my habits. Right? So if we want to manifest, we have to understand how this works. And we're having the opportunity to do this in this process today, and not only believing in the end result. The truth is, we also have to believe in the process. We have to believe that it's possible. We have to believe that the universe actually says yes to us, that the law only knows how to say yes. We really have to have conviction about that. And we have to believe that we are supported and we can go through the changes. What I've also noticed in my life is that when I'm in resistance to that, and I keep treating for the end result, but I am unwilling to be moved, that's where we get the phrase break down before breakthrough. Because ultimately the law then really has to say, no, if you're serious about that, I'm gonna take this stuff away from you so the space will be created for your manifestation. And it is the law actually in service to our manifestation, breaking it down, because we've been clinging to it, or we don't want to make the change, or whatever it is. So part of the process of believing it here is to really embrace this idea that when we are manifesting, we have to believe that we can move through the changes, move through the transitions. And so for that, we have brought in a dear friend of Carl Hunt's, who I have come to love and adore. He's just an amazing man. He's going to spend some time with us this morning. And then we're going to talk about what we're going to do this afternoon. So, David, would you come on up here? And I'm going to tell them a little bit about you. Let's welcome David to the platform. Yay. So, and since we've welcomed you to the platform, thank you so much for being here. I also want to say a huge thank you to Tracy, Dr. Tracy and Reverend Karen for stepping in for me so last minute last week. As you can still hear, I'm still a little froggy, but I'm able to speak, which is really great. Tracy has always did a beautiful job with the class, and Reverend Karen knocked it out of the park last week for me, and just, so grateful, so grateful. So David is stepping in today to help us with these transitions. And so let me tell you about David. He's the founder and CEO of Transitions Institute with more than 40 years of clinical and consulting experience. David's transition program empowers people to step beyond what is predictable and create truly extraordinary lives. His national and international practice includes Fortune 500 companies and training and coaching more than 30,000 individuals. He's also an avid swimmer, cyclist, competes in triathlons. Oh, there you go. You have a triathlon friend over there. Enjoys golf, travel, and spending time with his family. His wife, Karen, is here of 43 years, and he lives in Dallas with 3 children and 3 grandchildren. So now you know a little bit about David. I also want to let you know he's got a fabulous book I've been reading. It's called What's Next? Get Clear and Get Going. And so there's an affiliate link that they're putting in the chat. We also have the book out back for you to sign over there in Pankey Hall. He's going to be signing it. And it will show you how to do just that, right? It's part of this whole process. Often the key to success lies within us. We just have to find it. We know all this. But this is a very comprehensive and clear explanation of how this works. It's really lovely to hear it slightly differently with a little bit different ears, a little bit different voice. And I highly, highly recommend it with tools, techniques, and disciplines to create an extraordinary life. And of course, I'm reading it because I want to create an extraordinary CSLDallas, right? The life of CSLDallas. It's not just individuals, but it's for the whole process. And so what we're going to do is we're going to let David do a little introduction to the transition process, which you can use in your own life perfectly wonderfully. We are talking about having him do his whole program with us, which is an extended, deep dive, disciplined program early next year. It's going to be fabulous. This is like a taste. And then we're going to actually use a piece of the transition process in this afternoon's session, CSLDallas Unleashed. So we're going to share it with you. I'm going to share with you the plans for what we're going to be doing over here in our space, Suite 113. We are going to do everything we've been doing. We're just going to be doing it differently, right? That's part of the transition and the change. And so we're going to be talking about that. And I love what David says when he talks about we build on our past in service. We honor our past in service to the future we're creating. And when he spoke those words, I thought, oh my God, that's what we need. Honoring our past. Since we've been in here in 04, honoring our past in service to CSLDallas 3.0, which will be unleashed as we do this process. So if you've RSVP'd, great. If you haven't yet, please join us. If you're on campus, just come back after lunch at 1 o'clock. We'll be in Pankey Hall. If you are online, the registration link is there, so you can get the Zoom link. And at the beginning of the session, we'll be giving you all the materials. So if you're online, you'll be able to download it from the chat, and everybody who is here in person will be passing out the materials. And so you'll see how this whole thing kind of falls together. So I'm going to stop talking now. Really? Yes, and it's your turn.
I love that.
All right, so please say welcome to David. Yes. So we're going to set him up here with flip charts. Do you want them side by side?
Yay.
Okay. We're going to move this up here.
Right side by side.
Let's make them side by side.
Okay.
Yep, got it. And you've got your markers and your everything you need.
Close
Richard, you're all zoomed in there. So here we
Great.
go.
Well, good morning. You know, I heard two things already this morning that are very meaningful to me, and I'm sure also to you, and it's worth just repeating them. The first is sanctuary, that this is a sanctuary. Isn't that amazing that there actually is a place, a sanctuary for us to be? I love that. And the second was believe in yourself. What a powerful statement. You know, so often we don't do that. But when we do, you know, we're unstoppable. And believe in ourself. So I was thinking, what self is that? You know, how do you understand or do a deep dive on self? And really, that's what this presentation is about. And I feel blessed that for the last 40 years, I've been able to share this material with so many different groups, so many different people all over the world. And the way I want you to participate in this, what I'm going to ask is that your job here is to create an open listening. Listening, because I only have 20 or 30 minutes to deliver something that's very profound. And often, you know, I get a lot longer to deliver this. However, I'm clear that in the next 30 or 40 minutes, I can deliver something that will impact your life in a very positive way and impact the future of CSL as well. The first time I heard this material, I'm a psychologist, trained psychologist, PhD. So the first time I was actually in the presence of this material, this kind of presentation, my orientation, my context was, what do you got? What are you going to teach me? I know everything already, right? I mean, really, I honestly was sitting there that way. And then what happened was, little did I know that I was about to hear something that would completely alter the rest of my life. And it did. So it's that kind of opportunity that we have. Now, again, it's an invitation. This is an invitation for you to participate in this in your own seat. And I think what you'll see is that there's nothing that you actually have to believe, because if this is consistent with all the other times I've presented it, you'll experience this. This is not something to figure out. This is experiential in nature. And I think that's what makes it so simple to absorb and gives me permission to step in front of people and deliver this, because it's experiential, and we all share that kind of orientation as human beings. We share what it is to be a human, what it is to love, what it is to be fearful. All those experiences, we share them. We don't have to figure those out. Okay, so I'm going to do this in the following way. I have two basic elements of the transitions process, which is a much longer process. And Petra mentioned that we plan on presenting that sometime in the future. The first is called the transitions model. And this piece is really a setup for the second piece, which is the transitions platform. And the model really is just to get us on the same page. And the opportunity for breakthrough, really a breakthrough in how we see ourselves, others, et cetera, will be in the presentation of the transitions platform, okay? So with that, I'm just going to dive in and go to work here, so to speak. And I'm going to use the whiteboards. I'm sorry, I'm not that, sophisticated. I have friends in the audience here who say, what about a PowerPoint? I say, what about it? Someday, maybe. Okay. So again, this is the transitions model. I just want you to follow along and see whether you identify with this, whether it registers for you, okay? And what I'm going to suggest is that we all have a past, but we all live in the present. By the way, if you're going to try and read what I write, it'll get in the way. My handwriting is terrible, and so forth and so on. So, and I don't really care. So, okay. So we have a past, and we live in the present, but check this out. I suggest that in the present, we live on behalf of the future. That's what we're doing at all times. We don't really care about reliving the past, doing the past. We're up to something. Right from the first time we wake up in the morning, we've got to get dressed, we've got to feed the dog, we've got to get the kids to school, we've got to, prepare for work, we got to, whatever it is, we are always moving into the future. Moment by moment by moment, we're moving into the future. If we're not moving in the future, we're just stalled. That's not such a good place to be. Now, what future are we living into? Well, how about results, outcomes, goals that we have? That's what we're living into. We want to manifest something. We want to make something happen consistent with what we're up to in life, what we're committed to in life, okay? So I have divided this particular section into two very distinct, qualitatively distinct types of outcomes, goals, etc., results. And the first I'm going to call tangible. And you can probably guess the second is intangible. So we're all out to produce physical outcomes, put gas in the car, increase sales for the company, provide a structure like this for our congregation. But then there's the intangible. If we're not experiencing satisfaction and love and fulfillment while we're doing that, something's missing. And one of the things that I think everybody in this room has learned is no matter how many tangible assets you acquire or you manifest, it doesn't necessarily fill the intangibles. You can still, I have many, many clients who have so many toys, boats, how, all that stuff, and they walk around and it's like, got to get something else, got to do something else. It's not enough. They're not intangibly satisfied. So as a human being, if we're going to have a past, live in the present, on behalf of the future, we actually want to be focused on both simultaneously, not count on one giving the other. Okay, that sounds simple. By the way, you're following so far? Any problem? Okay, here's the thing. So, in order to do that, what do? We look to the past for our knowledge and information to support us in transitioning to the next space. However, if you're like everybody else in the world, which makes probably us, what comes along with that knowledge is a lot of noise. You can't do that. I'm not good enough. Someone else should. Why do I have to be accountable for that? Why didn't they call me on my birthday? I don't know what that. Noise. We are noisy. So noisy that it's a distraction or even a disruption. A distraction or a disruption from just moving forward and manifesting the things that we want. Okay, so here's the opportunity. The transitions process, the program that we have, is about limiting the impact of the past on who you get to be moment by moment on behalf of your future. Sure, I'll say it again. The transitions process limits the impact of the noise, the past, on limiting what's possible for you moving forward moment by moment. And if you didn't have all that noise, guess what? You'd be at work, you'd be at task, you'd be making stuff happen, you'd be fulfilling your intentions so much more easily and your commitments. But the noise is on automatic. You have no choice about whether you have the noise. I'll stop talking for 30 seconds. Let's see whether you could close the noise off. "30 seconds is too long. I can't tolerate it up here. I don't know how it is out there." See, it's on automatic. That's the nature of the mind. It is on automatic. And by the way, if it wasn't, you and I wouldn't be here. We need it for our survival to be on automatic. The problem, again, is that a lot of what comes along is a disruption or distraction. So if we can find a way of not eliminating it, because you can't, from my experience, but reducing its impact or reducing its presence dramatically, then we have a whole lot more opportunity to fulfill on our commitments, our intentions, and the things that we choose for the future. Okay, so far, that's the model. I got 2 more points to make, and then we'll move on to the platform, okay? The first is, and this is, I love this one. Nothing that you and I have ever accomplished in our lives did we do on our own. We've always had the support of other people. We're not independent, we're intradependent. We live on the same planet with other people. We were raised by our parents, who did everything for us. And then we had teachers, mentors, et cetera, et cetera. So there was always this incredible support for who we are, what we want to accomplish, trying to guide us through that process. Okay. So in order for those people who, by the way, it'll be the same in the future, you're not going to do anything by your own. There'll always be others influencing how it all occurs. What is required is clarity and alignment. These people need to be clear about what you're up to in order to support you, and they need to be aligned with it. If they're not aligned, they'll be pulling in a different direction. If they're not clear, the whole thing wobbles. So it's harder, okay? So if what I've said so far is true, then the following statement leads us to the next. And that is that the condition of communication that exists between you and others is absolutely fundamental to your success in life. You don't get a pass on this. We need to be effectively communicating, not only what to do, but our emotions, our feelings, our point of view, our everything needs to be communicated and shared in order to empower this process of fulfillment that we share with other people. One last point, and that is, you also need to be clear about the conversations you're having with yourself. Your communication with yourself is instrumental in terms of how effective you're going to be going forward. Okay? So that's the model. And if this was a much longer session, I'd go, who has questions, comments, or whatever? Turn to person next to you, share what you see, blah, 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 and we go from there. But we're not doing that. Because we got to get to the platform, because it's really cool. Listen, this is such, that I get to share this with you is such a gift. It's amazing. That I get to share this with my family and my kids and my friend. It's such a gift. It's so amazing. Oops. Okay. All right. If what we said so far, if you can hang with that, then basically what we said was, we're all out to produce results, outcomes, etc. in life. So if that's the game, produce outcomes and results, we have to know how to do that. And the how to do that, again, we do this as an interaction if we had a lot of time. I'm going to shortcut. The way we do that is through our actions. Take action A, you get result A. Take action B, you get result B. Don't take any action, you get that result. It's all a function of what actions are we taking in order to produce outcomes and results. Now, that leads us to another question, which is, what's the source of actions? As human beings, what's the source of our actions? Why are we doing what we do 24/7, all the time? And by the way, if you've heard this presentation before, I know some of you in the room have, please don't yell out an answer, okay? But if you have a suggestion for what's in that box, can you just yell out, why do people do what they do all the time? Desires. What else you got? Vision, I heard. What else? Habit. Yes, let's go, habits. Who? Yes, decisions for sure. Who? Belief. Needs. Personality. Perspective. Fear. Motivation. Oh my God, here we are. The year is 2024. We do not understand the source of our behavior, which leaves us one off or having more difficulty in being able to fulfill that objective. Okay, so ready for the answer? I need to demonstrate it as opposed to tell you. Much more effective to demonstrate, okay? So, if you're capable of it, would you please stand up? Okay, you're in the front row. Why'd you stand up?
Because you told me to.
Because I told her to. Why'd you stand up?
Because you said so.
Okay, please sit down. Very good. Would you come back up here for a second? Whoop. So much fun. Okay, would you just so they'll see. Okay, now here's the live poison rattlesnake. Would you take it, please? But I asked you to. I asked everybody to stand up. They said they stood up because I asked them to. Now I'm asking you to take this. You won't.
No.
Thank you. Look. By the way, it works every time. Thousands of, always. But here's the thing. Your behavior 100% of the time has nothing to do with me or anybody else. Your behavior is a function of the internal conversation that you're listening to. All the time. Now look, this is too simple. It's like looking through red-colored glasses. All you see is red, right? No one notices that they are the source of their own behavior. 100% of the time, there's no one else to blame. There's no one else to figure out. It's all about you. It's your relationship with what's happening, not what's happening. It's your relationship with what someone said to you, not what someone said to you. I got to expand on this a little bit. It's profound. How many conversations do you think I'm having right now in this room? Somebody yell it out. 2. How about close to 100? Because it's my speaking and your individual listening. No two people in this room have the same internal conversation. There's not somebody sitting on this side of the room that's thinking exactly what you're thinking, right? But we don't pay attention to that. We think we're all in the same conversation. We are not. You are unique. Now, what does that lead to? It leads to the fact that you are uniquely responsible for the conversations that are occurring for you. But it also leads to something else, which is they're only conversations. You can change them. This is the beauty. This is the opportunity. This is the transformation. And the transition that takes place is when people know that they actually have a choice about the conversation they're listening to. It's not a fait accompli, and it's not correct. You know how I know it's not correct? Because you don't agree with mine. And you don't agree with mine. There are 75 people who are seeing life differently than me in this room right now. Well, mine's the right way, of course. You gotta be kidding me. I'm from New York, so I have been accused of being arrogant, but that's a little over the top. Listen, once you get that you're the creator of the universe, nothing and no one else, or maybe, but in the meantime, you are creating who I am up here. You are individually creating what I'm saying. You are individually creating who you think you are sitting in that chair. You're creating all of it. There is one quote I had from my book, the What's Next book. I did want to read you. It's on this creating piece, and I love it so much. It goes like this. Each of us is creating our lives moment by moment. Most of us don't have the slightest awareness that we are creating it or how we're creating it. We're so deeply and profoundly trying to change for the better that we completely miss the obvious. We are creating ourselves and our lives right now. Now, if that's true, and if the process for creating is a function of language, I'm sorry, I didn't write in here. The answer is our internal conversation. And a conversation requires both speaking and listening. Both. Two people talking, no one listening, it's not a conversation. But you can be talking to yourself and listening to yourself. Now, I'm going to just make this a little sweeter, the pie here. And this is very important, especially to a community of faith, or a community that cares to make a difference, etc. And that is, not only are our actions perfectly correlated with our internal conversation, but so is our mood, our attitude, our feelings, our emotions, our point of view, our beliefs, all of it. of it, perfectly correlated to our internal conversation. If we took all of this and drew a circle around it, what we'd have to label the circle is our current personal reality. Our reality is tied to this internal conversation. And again, the recognition of this leads to additional opportunities. And see, once you start examining a life that's a function of the conversations that are occurring for us, you get curious. Well, how does that work? What's the nature of that conversation? Where did they come from? There's dozens of questions that need answering. But the one that I'm going to offer to you at least a partial answer, okay, is, and we're going to focus on listening because that's what your actions, you could tell me you're going to meet me for lunch, but if in your head you're going, no, I'm not going to be there. Your behavior is a function of what's in here, not what comes out of here. Unless the conversation in here is a match for what comes out of here, that's called integrity. It's so sweet. This whole thing is so sweet, it really is. Teacher, tell me what my time frame is here.
Oh, I got about, well, if it were me talking, you'd have 10 minutes. But
10 minutes? Perfect. Okay, I'm not sure what she said, but I'll just keep going. She'll go like this, and I'll know. Okay, so we want to drill down because now we see that we're the creators of the conversation. I said before, we have a choice, but we only have a choice if there's more than one. If there's only one conversation in our head, then what's the choice? So we want to see that we actually have two fundamentally distinct conversations that are running, and we could divide every one of the conversations we have all day long into two buckets. And they're fundamentally different, and they produce very different outcomes and results. Yes? Listening. This word. Let me see. Yep, it's listening. If you can't read it in the front row, I'm sure the people in the back row are having a blast with it. But thank you for asking. Two fundamentally different types of internal conversations that we are having moment to moment, okay? The first we're going to call automatic. And they are from the past. And these conversations keep us alive. They let us distinguish danger. They let us know it's time to eat. It's all of the physical automatic systems that are running 24/7 that keep us alive. So we have all kinds of internal conversations and external, but they're on automatic. And a lot of these conversations, the quality of them is to maintain the status quo, keep us moving in the same direction we've always moved. So when something interrupts the status quo, it can cause an upset, right? So if we're just listening to the historical conversations, and by the way, one of the key categories of that is called assessments. We have assessments, judgments, etc. And if you're going to have an assessment and judgment, it has to come from the past. You had to have had something to assess against, right? So if we have a thought called the past, our history, we have to cling to that. We have to be who we've always been, etc., as you were talking about. Well, then these are very useful conversations, but they keep you stuck. I think one way of saying it is, what got us here won't get us there. So we need a different set of conversations. And the alternate set of conversations, I'm going to call intentional. Intentional conversations. And intentional conversations are for the future. Now, what if you have a choice about listening in your head to past-based conversations, which you get to be right because there's nobody who's going to argue with your past-based conversations. It'd be silly to take you on. But what if you have the freedom, the possibility, because no one knows, the future hasn't happened yet, so it's open for being created. So what if there are a number of different kinds of conversations, like commitment or partnership or possibility-based conversations, that will allow us to create a future rather than simply live forward from the past? So this afternoon, what we're going to do is go a little deeper. We'll examine some of this stuff also. We also have some handouts, right? So even if you're not going to be here this afternoon, make sure you grab a handout because it actually goes down another level and shows you a lot of this stuff. Like I said, everybody's coming to the session, and everybody's buying a book.
Thank you. David Zelman.
Again, thank you.
Clarity and on point, and you can see how valuable this is for our own lives, and you can see how valuable it is as we move through this admittedly challenging, interesting, confusing times that we're in. And with everything that's going on, we have our transitions here at CSLDallas. We want you to be in on the conversation. We want to build intentional conversations about who CSLDallas is going to be at the end of the year and on into the future. So I really invite you to participate in this. And of course, we know we don't get the skills unless we practice them. So it's the perfect opportunity to practice it in this setting so that we can take it into our own lives. So we trust we'll see you at the session.